In this section, we're going to talk about the teeth and the eyes. And the teeth is going to be very brief because we're going to talk about the two major issues we deal with teeth. And that is the yellowing and whitening. Major issues like braces or chipped teeth are separate issues and require separate treatments. But for the most part, it's borrowing from one side of the mouth and replacing it with the other, paying attention to light details and things like that, of course, but flipping one body part to the other side of the body part. Basically, you can do essentially that. We'll see that even with the eyes, that we can flip things from left to right if we have got a good feature on the left and we want to replicate it to some degree on the right. We want to disguise that so that they don't look exactly similar, just flipped. We want to kind of warp things or kick things a little bit out of plumb so they're not exactly in the same coordinates. But let's look at the teeth specifically and what we would do to the teeth here. And typically we won't need to make a mask here simply because we don't have yellow tint anywhere in this picture. However, if your subject had a yellow flower in their hair or something like that, you would want to mask this off. So we're gonna proceed with that in mind. So we're gonna get a brush and we're gonna go in and tap the Q key. So I am basically in selecting mode, and I'm just gonna select pretty liberally most of the teeth. Now I know I'm not going to get much, if any, yellow in the lips, so this is not going to be a problem. Tap the Q key again. So I've got this selection, and I want to go to hue saturation. Now in hue saturation, I'm going to make sure that I take down the yellows. So I go to yellows, and I take the saturation down to about 60 to 70%. You don't want to go all the way, because if you go all the way, it starts to get gray and blue and dingy looking. So I want to take about 60 to 70% of it out. And then when we're done with that, we can repurpose that selection by holding the command key down and clicking on that mask. Having that selection ready to go, we can bring up a curve, and now we can use the curve to brighten. And we'll go overboard, we'll over brighten this. And then with the mask clicked on it, I'll get a brush and I'll paint with black as my foreground color. And basically my job here is to cut in that mask, is to cut in that adjustment. So I'm basically going around and I'm just painting it out of where it fell over the lips, because that tonal adjustment will start to spill. And once I've got that in place, I can click on the curve again and either back the curve off or drop the opacity back, either way. So basically with these two adjustments, I've taken the teeth from a yellowed, dingy kind of appearance to a more white and bright environment. So we don't have teeth to work with necessarily in the image we're working on, very faint. So this was a better representation of this lesson. But this we have, and we set it up in these two adjustment layers for the reason of going back, and if the teeth are too bright, basically when I balance things out, I balance the eyes and the whiteness and the brightness of the eyes to the teeth to make sure that they're in concert. So I don't mind if they're a little bit extreme in this situation, and then when I balance them out, when I look at the whole overview of the entire image. So let's move on to the eyes.